Okay guys, so let's take a quick break from Maria and all of the fusions and Leonardo and everything that's coming and focus on something else. A lot of people have problems with Nether Spider, that's the fat ugly one in the background, when they first start in the Doom Tower, and obviously the higher you crawl, the more annoying it gets. Later on in the game, when you have, I don't know, Geomancer, Venomage, you have a couple of unkillable champions like Hellcat, then you can set up pretty easy auto teams that can farm her with no problem whatsoever. There's a couple of tricks, but the problem obviously is that right now at a new account you just don't have those champions available. Most of you will have just a few champions lying around that they have to then try to make work. So I'm going to show you now how to beat the Nether Spider, because I on my account have still not had any of the key champions that I really want, so I had to go for a little bit of a patchwork team to make it happen in the Doom Tower, and I'm just going to show you the general idea of what you're looking for, what you can use as your champions, and what alternatives are for those champions in case you don't have the one that I'm running here. So, without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into the run. Okay, so I already jumped ahead here and battled through the waves that were directly at the spider, and we're going to slowly manual through this. Later on in the game, as I already said, you're going to be able to set up auto teams with Venomage, with Geomancer, Hellcat and others, but right now, since we don't have those tools available, we need to rely on a few others. So we have 2 damage dealers here. I have Michelangelo and I also have Alice, and then we have essentially 3 supporters that we're running, and don't worry if you don't have the exact champions here, you can use others that fill a similar role. So I'm just going to play this out slowly, and it's going to take a bit because we have to manual everything anyways and explain the principle. I'm using Reliquary Tender here. I have actually 3 of them, and the main thing that I need is the remove debuff, and that has the additional continuous heals that I'm also applying. So basically you want to use this and keep it ready every single time that the Nether Spider uses Brute Feast. Every single time that comes in, you have tons and tons of poison stacks on you, and you need to get rid of them. So that's what you're going to do right here, and then you just play it out. We're going to talk about alternatives to her in just a moment, but now that Grave Wolf gets its turn, the only thing that I need from him is the decreased speed. You can use High Cartoon in that position as well, might even be better. Mine isn't booked and strictly used for Arena, so that's why I use my Grave Wolf, but this is the only thing that I need him for. Additionally, what we have right now is also we need somebody that clears out the small spiders, and that's going to be Alice's job with the Clockwork Cyclone, mainly because I have a pretty bad affinity with Michelangelo. In this case, I didn't actually kill all of them, which is pretty meh, not really ideal, so that's something that we still have to take care of. But I also have the AoE from Michelangelo. Again, I usually don't want to use this to take the spiders out because it's bad affinity and you can get unlucky with your hits here. But we still want to, of course, use it against another spider to apply the decreased attack and to apply also Leech, which is pretty important here. So, since Alice didn't kill all of the spiders at once, that got us a little bit more damage incoming, but we're still totally fine here. You can still play around with this a bit more if you want and use it more often. You have a chance of increasing the turn meter on the spider, of course. I personally don't really like to do this because I ended up too many times in a situation where I just didn't have it ready when I needed it, and you essentially want to do this once and that's it. So later on, again, when you can farm her with auto teams, it's a different story, but for now it's just a manual process that you just gotta go through once and then you're fine. Now, I talked a little bit about Reliquary Tender with the removal that you have in generally on all of the debuffs. So you might have a different one, or you might just now look at the screen and be like, hey, I don't have a hero that can remove debuffs, so what exactly am I going to do with this right now? And you will, the higher you go, in earlier levels you can mitigate the damage with heals, but the higher you go, at some point you are going to have either block, an unkillable block damage, remove debuffs, or, which might be a little bit more accessible to people, is a block debuff buff for your own team. Now, when you have that, then obviously you want to go early and apply it to your team just before the ability by the Nether Spider is used. So keep that in mind a little bit. It's all about the timing then. You would use it, for example, just before the spider takes her next turn, because then it's when things will get a little bit ugly if you don't. But it doesn't matter which one of the 2 variations you go for, the process is essentially the same. In one case, you're removing the debuffs after they get applied. In the other, you're trying to block them in the first place, which generally is the more comfortable position to be in, but that's just where we are right now. And Anchorite, he essentially just fills the role of a healer. So you don't have to have Anchorite, you can have any healer that you have. It's just important that all of that damage that is done in between gets mitigated by someone, and that's going to be him. So in this case, I'm actually still going to heal my wolf here, mainly because I also want to have the buff. I want to have the increased crit damage more so than anything else. And Anchorite himself, he's going to be fine, I hope. Also bad affinity, so you're not always guaranteed that that's the case. But it actually saved my wolf that I healed him up to full HP. Now I have a revive on Reliquary Tender. That's obvious also a thing. Keep in mind, by the way, there are 2 level 50 champions in here, 2 5-stars. So if you have a lot of these guys on 6-star, then you don't even have those issues and they have a lot more survivability. So definitely something to keep in mind while we're going through the process. And the funny thing is, when I beat this the first time, my Reliquary Tender was actually not even 5-star. She was just level 40 and that was it. So again, the AoE, same process. We just clean the spiders out. We keep applying all the debuffs with Michelangelo. In this case, I'm actually also running into the problem that my Reliquary Tender does not take the first turn after the spider. So a lot of these poison buffs did still damage. I have my heal kicking in, but now it's all about removing that. And then, while we're waiting for the next turn, it's going to be important to heal up as much of that as I can. But again, we're obviously taking a look at that cooldown. We're keeping her A2 safe. You could optimize things here a little bit. Depends on the speeds that you are running. Remove the buffs here. Always hope, of course, also for another turn with my support here. He's sitting in Relentless. And just keep trying to also utilize the leech on the Nether Spider for all of this. So that's basically the game plan right now. And you can already tell that a lot of them are actually dropping a bit low here. This is the issue when you don't apply the decreased attack consistently. So that can be a bit of a problem. Everybody's still alive, so that's fine. And we have now worked down the hit points of the Nether Spider nearly down to 50%. There's 2 more turns, or like 1 more turn before the Nether Spider on the consecutive one will then also apply the all the problems for me again. So in this case, I guess we're going to keep the wolf alive again. We're going to also get another turn, can go for the removal here. I usually don't use the A2 with my Reliquary Tender and just keep that safe, because again, you got a manual through this once. Okay, couldn't even save the wolf. Wasted heal at the end of the day, but generally speaking, we should still be fine. Honestly, I might have screwed up a little bit considering that I did not heal Anchorite. That should have been my priority. I shouldn't have cared about the wolf and just revived him, or planned to revive him right from the start. That would have gotten me into a much better position than where I'm in now, because I'm actually not sure that my Anchorite survives the next turn of the Nether Spider, and that is going to make things then more difficult for me. So we have a little bit more heal on him, so that worked quite nicely. And here come the hits. The wolf is going to go down, I suppose, but here come the spiders, so we're going to go through the same process. And with a little bit of luck, this is actually the last time that I'm running into the A2 of the spider. So we get the full kill. It's already great. Can apply... I guess we're going to try and apply the leech and the decrease attack first, so that already hit. We get the full heal, which I'm going to use on himself. If Alice, for example, would fall, then I can still revive her with Reliquary Tender. So everybody is still fully clear. And now with a little bit of luck, I'm going to get the damage out to just take the spider out. But yeah, it's all a little bit close, as you can already tell. So this would be way more comfortable if I had my wolf upgrade a little bit higher, if I had my Reliquary Tender on a higher level. Other champions that deal damage help, of course. You can play a little bit around HP burns as well. It's really a question of what exactly you have. And for me personally, it was just one of those things where I looked at my lineup and I was like, not really great. If I had, for example, force champions here, that would be way better. A couple of decent force damage dealers and you are done much, much faster with all of this. But Leminisi, just to give another example, she's on 50 right now, doesn't really have any stellar equipment, so she's just not an option for me in this particular case. But the main idea for me is really to just give you a bit of a plan of what you can do in order to beat this, because you just have to go through it, as I said, once, and then as you progress in the game, there's a really good chance that you're just going to get these champions that you need in order to break this pretty regularly and even farm it. So right there you see the outcome. It took us roughly 10 minutes. The fastest was last time with 8. But the idea is always the same. I have one champion that does the AoE damage, that tries to take all of the spiders out when they spawn. You need somebody that either blocks the buffs or removes the buff. One healer. You want to have a decreased speed. That could be also, of course, High Cartoon, anybody else that you're running. And then a second damage dealer ideally somebody that applies the decreased defense as well, so it depends a bit on what you have available. But most of you guys should have as free champions at least Mickey, Alice. There's a good chance that you got yourself a Glade Wolf. If you don't have a Glade Wolf, you can use High Cartoon, so it's 3 champions that were absolutely freely available. I would assume that everybody that is watching this and is trying to break through a higher floor in the Doom Tower also has some support that they can use. It doesn't have to be Anchorite, can be anybody else. And then again, the one requirement is, of course, that you still have a champion that can either remove the poison or block the poison. Those are the 2. And that's basically it. So if you've been struggling with another spider, I hope this helped you. I hope that allowed you to break through and access the next few floors. It's one of the most annoying bosses. There's of course a couple more. We talked about Dreadhorn and some Scarab in the past. Mickey can thankfully solo Scarab. If you haven't seen that yet, then just go into the video section and scroll down a little bit. I did a video on that, so Mickey is extremely strong there, and with the right equipment can solo that boss. So if this has been a problem for you, then make sure to check that out. But yeah, for me personally, Nether Spider is always mega annoying. Relic Creator is literally the only champion that has any kind of like debuff removal that I have in my lineup right now. I got mega unlucky with my pulls on that end so far. So yeah, that's the one that I used. And again, when I used her the first time, she was just level 40. So it's not like you have to invest a lot into that champion. That champion has one role and one role only. So that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that it helped you a little bit. And if it did, then hit that like button on the video. And if you have any questions, as usual, just drop a comment into the comment section. If you have any other little hacks where you say, hey, this works extremely well for me too, and you don't need to have this specific legendary champion, then leave it in the comments as well. It would always be nice to hear a few more ideas and tricks on how to take the spider down, especially, of course, for newer free-to-play players. With that being said, have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you soon, guys. Bye-bye.